Hello, everyone. Surely many of us have held our breath, our hearts clenched, as we watched James and Diêp weather some of the harshest trials love can bring. They faced not only distance and misunderstanding, but also the cruel schemes of John, once a trusted business partner, now a shadow of betrayal and destruction. John didn't just try to seize power within the company, he repeatedly struck at their bond, doing whatever it took to divide James and Diêp. He wasn't afraid to hurt, to destroy, just to satisfy his selfish ambition. At the peak of it all, he kidnapped James's mother and Diêp, forcing James to make an impossible choice, a glittering career or the family he holds dear. But in the end, after the tears, the sacrifices, and those painful moments teetering between hope and despair, James made his decision. He chose what truly mattered most: love and family. And on a peaceful afternoon, when the storm had finally passed, with no more hate and no more deceit, James and Diêp made a quiet but powerful decision: to get married. No grand celebration, no spotlight, just a tight embrace and a promise to walk through the rest of life hand in hand. But is it really over? Is their love strong enough to withstand the new trials that life may bring, especially when behind the curtain of happiness there are still secrets left untold and enemies that may not be gone at all? James and Diêp's journey is far from finished, and sometimes the greatest challenges don't come from the past, but from the future that lies ahead. Make sure to follow the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next, where love, trust, and choices will be tested once more, and a past thought long buried may return when least expected. Their story isn't over yet, and you won't want to miss what happens next. At last, justice was served. After months of intense investigations, countless legal procedures, and numerous testimonies, John, the man behind the dark days of James and Diêp, was finally brought into the light. The court handed down a severe sentence, listing a series of serious charges: financial fraud, embezzlement, intentional threats, kidnapping, and conspiracy to harm others for personal gain. This wasn't just a punishment for criminal acts, it was a stark warning. Those who let hatred drive their schemes and destruction will inevitably pay a heavy price. As John was handcuffed and escorted out of the courtroom, James felt no triumph, no joy, no relief. He simply stood in silence, eyes heavy with reflection, watching the figure who had once been a trusted partner, now reduced to a defeated convict. To James, this wasn't a glorious ending. It was the quiet closing of one of the darkest chapters of his life, a chapter written in tears, fear, crushing pressure, and shattered trust. John hadn't just damaged the company's finances or reputation, he had torn apart the core values James and Diêp held dear: peace, trust, and a love they thought was unshakable. Every scheme John orchestrated had been like a silent dagger, stabbing at the hearts of two people in love. He sowed seeds of doubt, exploited their fears, and ignited wounds that left deep emotional scars. What he tried to destroy was not just a business, but their faith in love, in life, and in themselves. And yet, even though John had once been the storm, James and Diêp refused to let it drown them. They rose, faced the truth, protected one another, and endured together. And today, as justice is served, there is no fanfare, no victory song, only a meaningful silence, filled with courage, with love, and with closure. Closure so that a new chapter may begin. one where the darkness has passed and the light slowly returns, soft and tender, just like the love they had fought so hard to preserve. After all the storms, James and Diêp finally came to understand something they had never fully grasped before. That if they could hold on to each other through the darkest days, then they truly deserved to share the brightest, sunniest ones together. Life after the trial seemed to return to its usual rhythm, but within their hearts, everything had changed. No more nights clouded by anxiety, no more glances laced with doubt, no more restless sleep haunted by fear. Instead, there were peaceful mornings shared over quiet breakfasts, gentle strolls through familiar streets in the afternoon light, where laughter had taken the place of tears. James and Diêp chose to slow down. They gave more of their time to family, to loved ones, those who had stood by them through both the storms and the sunshine. After all the wounds John had left behind, they cherished each moment of peace more deeply than ever, because now they understood. Peace isn't the absence of storms, but having someone who stays and holds your hand through them, and still chooses to stay after they've passed. After all the storms that James and Diêp had weathered together, it seemed life had tested them enough. Their love had been forged through separations, dangers, misunderstandings, and tears. And perhaps that was why the moment they stepped into a new chapter, engagement and marriage, felt more sacred and deeply moving than anything they had ever experienced. James spent many days preparing for the proposal. He didn't want it to be just a romantic gesture with candlelight and a sparkling ring in a fancy restaurant. He wanted it to be a real promise, a vow not only to Diêp, but also to himself. He chose a very special place, a hilltop overlooking the entire city as the sun touched the horizon. It was the spot where they had gone on their first date after surviving one of the hardest misunderstandings in their past. A place that held both tears and laughter, a quiet witness to their journey. That afternoon, James took Diêp there, saying simply, "I want to watch the sunset with you." She had no idea that amid the gentle landscape as the sky was painted in shades of orange and gold, James would quietly kneel down. In his hand wasn't just a diamond ring, but also a handwritten letter. The first love letter he ever wrote to her, never sent. His voice trembled but was filled with sincerity. "Diêp, I can't promise to be the perfect husband, but I promise to be someone who learns to love you more each day. I promise to listen, to be patient, and to stand by you, not just on sunny days, but through every storm we face, like the ones we already have." Diêp was speechless, choked up with emotion. She didn't cry out loud. She simply nodded through her tears and threw her arms around James, as if holding on to everything she had ever hoped for and believed in. And so they became engaged. Not with cheers or fireworks, but with a soft breeze and two hearts beating as one. The wedding, a day of love and healing. James and Diep's wedding took place 3 months later, not extravagant or flashy, but somehow tender and breathtaking in its own way. They chose a garden by the sea, adorned with white flowers, lanterns hanging along the pathway, and the soft sound of waves like a lullaby for happiness. The ceremony began in the late afternoon, just as the sun began to set, casting golden light over everything. Their closest loved ones were all there, James's mother, their dearest friends, and even colleagues who had stood by him during the company's darkest hours. When Diêp walked out in her flowing white gown, James was spellbound. He had seen her cry, angry, exhausted, but today he saw a version of Diêp that glowed like the morning sun, radiant, gentle, and full of depth. Every step she took was filled with trust, love, and forgiveness. They exchanged vows beneath a hand-woven floral arch, where candlelight flickered and petals floated on the breeze. James said, "I promise I will never let anything, not even myself, hurt you again." Diêp replied, "I don't need a perfect husband. I just need someone I can lean on when I'm tired, and know without a doubt that I'm safe." Many shed tears, not from sadness but from deep emotion, because to witness two people who had once been broken, once torn apart by power and betrayal, now look at each other with such tenderness, it was clear to all. This love was real, it was worthy, and it wasn't something easily found a second time. The reception, where love was shared. After the ceremony, a small reception took place beneath the starry sky. There was no professional MC, no rehearsed script, just friends standing up to share silly, sweet stories about the couple. James's mother hugged Diêp during a soft melody and whispered, "Thank you for loving James, the gentlest way anyone could ever love." James and Diêp danced their first dance beneath strings of warm lights, surrounded by applause. But to them, time seemed to stop. Only the beat of their hearts and the eyes of the one they loved remained. And from that day on, after the wedding, James decided to step back from his role in the company for a few months to travel with Diêp, to heal the wounds that still lingered and begin a new chapter of life. A chapter without John, without the chaos of power struggles, only love, growth, and quiet joy. They had sacrificed so much to stay together. And perhaps that's why this hand they now held was forever. The story of James and Diêp is a powerful and emotional testament to the resilience of the human spirit after enduring deep wounds caused by betrayal, deception, and hardship at the hands of John. Their journey was not merely an escape from darkness, but a path toward the light, where true peace and happiness were finally found. The love between James and Diêp was not born out of obligation or pressure, but forged over time, rising above loss and pain, and ultimately blossoming into a deep, genuine bond. They didn't choose to run from the past, but instead faced it together, healed, and moved forward, stronger and more resilient than ever. Their wedding, though simple, was full of meaning, marking a new beginning where love triumphs over dark schemes, where freedom and trust are reborn. Their story reminds us that happiness is not found in avoiding pain, but in overcoming it together, allowing true love to shine through. But has the past truly let them go? Has John really disappeared, or is he silently preparing for a shocking return? Don't miss the thrilling twists ahead. Make sure to follow and subscribe to the channel today to uncover the next chapter of this journey, where the truth slowly unravels and long-buried secrets are finally brought to light.
Bạn có tin rằng những giữa tổn thương vẫn có một tình yêu đủ mạnh mẽ để hàn gắn tất cả? Bạn có từng mong một câu chuyện không hoàn hảo, nhưng chân thật đến từng nhịp tim? Chào mừng bạn đến với chuyện tình Diêp và Diêp, nơi mà tình yêu không chỉ là những lời ngọt ngào, mà là cả hành trình vượt qua hiểu lầm, phản bội, mất mát để tìm lại nhau. Từng tập trong câu chuyện này không chỉ kể về tình yêu, mà còn là những nát cắt của cuộc sống, nơi hai con người học cách trưởng thành, học cách tha thứ và chọn lại tình đầu, yêu lại từ đầu dù 3 lần vấp ngã. Nếu bạn từng rơi nước mắt vì đoạn ký ức cũ, đừng mỉm cười khi thấy ai đó yêu nhau bằng tất cả sự dịu dàng, thì bạn chắc chắn sẽ tìm thấy một phần trái tim của mình trong câu chuyện. Hãy ấn đăng ký kênh và bấm theo dõi để không bỏ lỡ bất kỳ tập nào trong hành trình và tình yêu và lớn lên cùng nhau của James và Diệp. Vì đôi khi chỉ cần một câu chuyện đủ sưởi ấm những ngày dài lạnh lẽo.